Hello, my name is Surreal Lemming, and today with us again we have my good friend Morgan.
Hi everybody, nice to see you again.
Yeah, we've got another video in alpha version 50,000, same changes as last time. There are a couple of things that I always miss. I'm sure we'll point them out as the game goes on, as I remember them. But obviously nothing's changed since then, so there's no major things.
Okay, so let's introduce the players. We've got Planet Annihilator in white, and if you'd like to say blue.
Yeah, we've got X-Car in the... what sort of blue is that? Baby blue, would you say?
I'd say baby blue.
Baby blue.
And we've got Andret in the black, and you in your hot pink.
Yep, because there's nothing hotter than some nice pink.
Now, you'll actually see the squares again that I just don't like. I'm really sorry. I just don't like those squares.
Yeah, they are first pass, so I think that in the future they're going to look a lot better, hopefully. I actually quite like them like this. I think they look nice and funky. I'm hoping for swirls, though.
Yeah,
swirls. I like the swirls.
I would like swirls. Now, you might have missed the shot of the moon there, but you can always scroll back the video, guys. There was actually 3 craters, including 2 large ones, 1 small, which look really pretty, and it's just such a pretty game.
It's a great thing about it all being procedurally generated. As Minecraft has shown, when something's procedurally generated, oddly enough, 90% of the time it looks great.
Right.
Because it's always new.
Yeah, it's just having those so many variations that gives you a possibility of just about anything.
Yeah, and I don't know how people played Minecraft, but it just runs off a seed and randomly generates the world. Whereas because this is multi-core running on a server, no 2 seeds will even generate the same regardless.
Wow.
Because it's asynchronous, so...
Do you want to give that a bit of an explanation?
Asynchronous. I'm not smart enough to explain it, I'm afraid. If you really want to know, go look at one of UberNet's live streams on their YouTube channel. I'm sure they explain it in one of them.
And then something that I know that you've probably brought up, but I haven't had a chance to yet, is how in-depth Uber has really been in releasing information, keeping us updated, and listening to the community.
Oh, yes. They are a fantastic company. I mean, I was a little dubious about backing them on Kickstarter at first, because while I've heard good things about them, I've never really played Super Modern Combat, and I didn't know much about them as a company, but ever since this has been out, they've been constant with updates, constant talks to the community, they're really active on the forums, and they will all answer questions very readily about the game if they can actually answer them. Obviously, some things they can't. But if they have an answer, they will generally give it, which is very unusual for a company. Yeah, that is really good. Now, we're starting the standard build, guys. Don't need to really go into this. And we're going to be building some vehicles here and to get out some build capacity. And again, we're happy with the start currently. We mentioned through previous games that economy is really where we're looking for. Oh, yes. I'd like to get the economy up and going at the start. If I am worried about early aggression, I can just not build with the builder. Absolutely. It's easy enough just to stop building and build more units instead. Now, this is going to be become what we've referred to again as greedy play, and it does leave you vulnerable in the early stages of the game. Oh, yes. And I think you actually mentioned to me that you do something a little differently in this game to previous games. Yeah, I actually get out a fairly early land scout. Right. Because quite soon there is an enemy to my west, which is going to be revealed by his radars I'm putting down. Oh, right, okay. And which enemy is that? It's Andret in the black. Andret in the black. And that's actually, we've had early positional play where guys have been very close to you. And the addition of this land scout, how did that help? It allows me to see what he had. Unfortunately, I didn't quite scout very well with it, but it allows me just to see what sort of units composition he was going for, what his first factory was, because that tells you a lot about what their end goal is. Because if they go vehicle factory, they're very likely to go advanced vehicle factory afterwards. If you're air, you almost guarantee that they go for some sort of airplane. Now that can change later in the game as we get tech switches, but in the early stages, it does pretty much guarantee to a point where we're going. Yeah, if he wants to do early aggression, if he's built a vehicle factory, he has to go vehicles to some degree, because you can't just have that vehicle sitting there doing that factory sitting there doing nothing. Otherwise, it's just wasted minerals, energy. Not minerals. Completely wrong game. Mass. No, it's not mass, it's metal. Ah, it is actually metal. It is actually metal. Ah, fair enough, that's my fault there. Now, why did you pick this particular place to start with? It had a very nice open expansion to the south, west as we see it here. The east was locked off by natural crevices, which is really nice, easy to defend against land.
And as we see one of the natural crevices on the screen now.
Yep.
And there's one just above.
One just above. There's a very tight choke to the north, and then to the northwest there's a large amount of ocean, which, if someone does build on the other side of the ocean, it could cause problems. But I think I can get it sea out pretty quickly.
And we like ocean, don't we?
We like ocean. Boats are great. Because players, if they want to go sea, they tend to build their econ right next to the shore.
Right.
Which is a bit silly, but it makes sense tactically because it means you can defend it with your boats. But if you lose the ocean at any point,
it becomes a liability.
It becomes a massive liability. Yes.
Okay. And you decided to actually build a turret there because you've seen Andret, you know that he's building, and you've seen a modicum of his production facilities.
I haven't scouted yet. I just know that he's got stuff, and in large number, which is worrying.
Okay.
Because it could be anything.
Right.
It looks, from the spacing, it looks like economy. And that's quite a large number of it. So it could be going for some very early play, maybe very quick Tech 2.
Right.
Which is why I dropped down the Tech 2 so early.
Right. Okay. So that was the decisioning behind that.
Yes. Obviously, I do like to get my Tech 2 around this time anyway, so it wasn't too big of a problem. But I wanted to start it early so I could very easily just dump build capacity into it to get it up quickly if you did go Tech 2.
Now I see that you're building your commander for energy there, and is there a particular reason you prefer energy from the commander rather than mass? Because you've mentioned before that the metal time is much larger than the energy build time.
Yes.
So you've gone for the commander building energy. Why is that?
At the start, it's purely ease. To be honest, it's just having the commander build energy and have my first two bots or vehicles that roll off building mass just flows really nicely for the game for me.
But you've tended to favour it throughout the later game that still the commander goes onto energy. Is there a particular reason?
It's towards the early mid game. It's because the commander can build it so quickly. If you have 3 or 4 vehicles though, they build it a lot quicker.
Okay, here's the scout. So we see a lot of mass. Energy, not so much actually. That's a little worrying.
Well, those big buildings there, energy storage, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Because I don't think he has Tech 2 yet. Yeah, they're definitely not Tech 2, so energy storage. So I know that he's not got that much energy because I didn't see much at all. So he can't have that much building.
Right.
At once.
Now I saw earlier that you clicked for an artillery, but you've actually switched that to a defence tower, a ground tower. Why was that?
I was worried that if the artillery went up and he had a couple of units, he would just rush me as soon as the first shot went off. Because you go kill it.
You would have forced an engagement there, which you couldn't have won at that stage.
Exactly, because I would have nothing on the ground.
Okay. All right. So we're getting that Tech defence tower up, Tech 1 defence tower, is that right? Yeah. And you've actually pulled a second one back with the commander. What was the reason there?
I was going to build it further forward, but he started pushing a little bit with his anti-air vehicles there. So I was worried I wouldn't get it up in time.
Now he actually gets radar there, doesn't he? That's an improvement of what we've seen previously.
Yeah, he's quite smart. Gets some forward radar, which allows him to see what I've got. I'm very surprised he didn't push here. I think if he pushed, he may have just been able to do it.
Because as soon as this artillery comes up, you've already started to produce units, you're aware that there's an issue, and here he starts to push out. Now this is too late. Now again, look at the time it takes for that turret to turn around, guys. And you're going to see something really interesting in a second. You see that top turret that just turned back? It's no longer engaging those units, they're not in rage, and it's turned back, and the time that took was immense for it to turn around to fire at them.
Yeah, it always goes back to the position you told it to build in the first place.
And that's why it's so important to rotate the buildings, which I know is, you talked to me before about you're finding it hard at the moment.
It's such an unusual concept. I don't think I've played in a game that you had to rotate the defensive buildings. Other buildings, yes, like to roll change the way units roll off buildings and exit buildings and whatnot, of course, but not defensive units.
Yeah, because we've seen you time and time again position your building so the roll-off time of units coming off the production line is easier. You're helping the pathing, you're making that easier.
Yes.
But with turrets, because, again, you're just not used to that kind of play, it's something you haven't quite built up yet.
I always do it with artillery.
Yes, yeah, and again we see that that artillery is perfectly positioned, but not the defense turrets.
It's just, I mean, like, you've played Total Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
You build them, now they will always face exactly the same direction every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But they would rotate and they would stop at the point where they lost contact with the enemy, and they just face that direction every single time.
Yeah.
But these, they rotate back to norm, which is really strange.
Now that's, again, a lot of people could say that you know, that's something that needs to be improved with Lemming's play, but I just want to be honest here, guys. You know, I wouldn't be playing at the levels that Lemming is playing currently. He is a very good player. It's just something that will be built in over time.
Oh yes, it's not something you're just going to have to learn to do.
And it you know, it can be very simple.
I'm having a little bit of a problem here.
Ooh.
He's
Wow.
taken out my Tech 1 artillery.
Now, someone that might have had a quicker eye than me there would have seen that unit just destroy those bombers. And what was that?
It was a tank.
It was a tank. Now, this is something that I find a little difficult in the game. A tank taking out an aircraft, it just doesn't seem realistic to me.
And the Tech 2 tanks do a much better job at it.
So, why do we think that is currently? What do you think we could do to avoid that in future builds?
I think it's just going to be changing the angle that the turret can point up at.
Right, so the plane flies higher. If the turret can only go to a certain angle, it's going to make it much more difficult for the planes.
Because it's going to have to shoot at it from a further distance, which means it's got a longer travel.
And is that going to create a problem with the planet being spherical and the unit not having the range it needs to for general fighting then?
Because you're fighting on a spherical planet, the vast majority of the time you're always fighting downhill anyway.
Oh, of course, yes.
Because you're always fighting down decline.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Sorry, that's me being silly there. Now, looking at this, you've got Black in a bit of an awkward position. He's trying to build out, but you've just got I think, a slightly stronger position here at the moment. Your artillery has... you're getting a second artillery building?
No, the first one was sniped by the bombers. Two Tech 1 bombers takes out an artillery in one pass.
Wow.
I was surprised by that. I thought they'd have a lot more HP. But I've got Tech 2 artillery. Again, tank shoot down the aircraft. But I've got Tech 2 artillery vehicles now. Which is a bit of a problem for me. He's microing very well. This guy is a very good player. Probably one of the better players I've played against so far.
Fair enough. So this artillery comes in. As the units start to engage and slow down, the artillery becomes more effective. But essentially, the damage was done by the tanks.
He tries to come round to try and take out the Tech 2 artillery vehicle. However, I move my unit slightly back a bit more, and he doesn't use to remove commanders, so my turrets kill them.
Right. Okay.
Again, tanks shooting down aircraft. It shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. I love the fact that the game is, you know, a bulleted actual entity. It's not a guaranteed shot. You know, it's not StarCraft 2 where every unit always hits regardless as long as it's in range.
Yeah.
But a tank taking out an aircraft, like, with that much consistency.
Yeah, it's not. That wasn't just a one-off. We saw that happen on, 3 separate occasions?
Yeah.
With the same unit. And, I mean, I wouldn't suggest anyone try it in real life if you have a couple of spare tanks and aircraft lying around.
A couple of Shermans and a Spitfire.
Absolutely. But even then, these are supposed to be jet planes. The speeds that they would realistically be going at, it would be physically impossible.
I'm sure someone on the forums has done the math on how fast all the planes are going in real relative terms. It's probably like Mach 8 or something silly. Now, these are, you know, super mega ultra robots that can, you know, do a billion calculations a second or whatever.
So essentially data.
Yeah, but even then, it doesn't make much sense. It's just silly.
And this is just because the game's an alpha. You know, these balance issues will be brought in, and it's really nice to see the level of development that Uber has. Because you were actually telling me about one of your old favourite units in Total Annihilation, weren't you?
Oh yeah, the Necrobots.
Right.
It's just essentially a unit that can bring other units back from the dead.
Brilliant.
And they confirmed it in the live stream at the end of the Kickstarter when I asked.
Right. And was that only for high-level backers?
No, the live stream was for anyone watching. So
Wow, and then you could just ask questions of Uber?
Yeah, the Uber staff were there, they could ask questions. Quite often they do a live stream on their Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Uber. I'll leave a link in the description to it.
Brilliant.
It goes up like a Friday, 2 or 3 weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
And they'll take Q&A sessions. I think the last one they did on Reddit, so if you go on the Planetary Annihilation Reddit, and keep an eye out.
You'll see those coming
You'll
up.
see them coming up, yeah.
That's great. And why is it so important for the community to be involved?
It's because, one, the community is generally better at balancing games and companies because you have a lot more people to talk about and discuss. Now, the companies will ultimately always say no or yes because they have a vision for the game. They want to use it to do a particular thing. Like, take StarCraft 2. If it was up to the community, the Marine would have been removed in the first patch. But it's very important for the community to be involved just so that we have a say in what the game does.
Yeah, and we see now that there's a Tech 2 artillery being dropped, and that's really going to force this engagement, isn't it? He's poked a little bit, as you may have seen in the last couple of seconds of the video, but he's not really made any concerted effort to take you out at this stage.
Yeah, he's tried, and I've been constantly forcing his units to have to push forward a little bit and take him out in small chunks. I don't want him to get a large army at any point.
No.
So I am just taking small bits of my army when I get them, because I know I'm able to defend against what he's got at the moment, just to force his units to come out and take a little bit out.
Now, that's actually going to force this issue, because once this Tech 2 artillery comes up, he's not really got a choice. This has to go down.
Yeah, if that stays up, all that base is gone. He's just forfeited all.
And it's just a matter of time at that stage.
The way Planetary Annihilation works, though, is he could very easily run away with all his build capacity as commander
and just build further back. Yeah. And that's something that you've done throughout the game is take your build capacity and expand upon the map.
I have been very, very forward with my commander. He could have, in theory, built lots of Tech 2 air and just sniped my commander, but he would have lost the game at that point because I could then just slowly push forward all my units. If it didn't work, if it works, he won.
Now, into the although we've seen how effective Tech 2 tanks are, you've actually brought anti-air vehicles into this fight, which just took out that air. Now, he's pushed forward with a decent amount of units here.
Yeah, he's got, I think it's single Tech 2. No, all Tech 1. Yeah, he's just got lots of Tech 1, which he's pushing forward with, and he's also come on a different flank as well, trying to outmaneuver me here, but he just doesn't have enough.
Yeah, I think that was a decision by him because he saw that you were bringing small piecemeal units, and he may have misunderstood the reasoning behind that. So he thought if he attacks from two fronts, but we're about to see, as he moves his units through here, he starts to build up, and you've talked about this a number of times, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Just, if your units ever get into a column and you're pushing forward into artillery, you are going to lose most of that column.
Yeah, and that if we just saw all that column had to retreat because it got into such a negative position. And again, that shows that the player understood that he was in a poor position there.
Oh, yes. It's going to change drastically when formations are finally in the game. But for now, it's just, you can't do it. You can't push into that artillery like that.
Now, the person that's actually developing the pathing for this game currently is one of our favourite AI designers, isn't it?
Well, favourite is when we've taken his name in vain quite often.
Yeah, there are a number of situations where I may have said some unkind things, but it was purely out of frustration at my own ability rather than his exceptional AI.
He's working on pretty much all the AI for the game now. He's working in conjunction with other people for the pathing and other sorts, but I'm pretty sure he's overseeing all general AI in the game. But it's Saurian we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the name of the guy.
He's very, very good at it, but he's obviously taken a bit piecemeal because the AI sometimes isn't the smartest in the world.
Well, again, we know we're an alpha, guys. You know, when we say things that are negative about the game, it's just things that we know are going to be improved later.
Yes.
And the Tech 2 artillery has come up now. You're again pushing and forcing these engagements in the front. He does have Tech 2 artillery now, which has meant that you've got to be a little more careful, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I'm trying very carefully to not lose my big Tech 2 tanks. I've switched to Tech 2 tanks because it's very hard to be forwardly aggressive against units with Tech 2 artillery.
Right, because at the very start of the Planetary Annihilation, you did advise me that the Tech 2 artillery was particularly overpowered.
It was completely broken.
Right.
In fairness, the artillery bots were so broken that you could just build 4 of them and win the game.
If I can just interrupt you, now you'll actually see that Andret has dropped from the game.
Oh, yes.
So please, understand that this player isn't just stopping playing now. It's not his fault. There's been an error in the game.
He does come back in the game later on, which is very good. But
yeah, it's very nice of him. And
another tank plane kill.
Wow. It's just really... Just watch this video, guys. I mean, we may have even missed tank plane kills.
There's been several. The Tech 2 tanks, they fly so quickly that they can just snipe planes.
And look at the rotation speed on that turret. That is actually really impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, the Tech 2 tanks are very good in this game.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Challenger tank move that fast. Sorry, we're Brits, just in case anyone hasn't realised, and the Challenger is one of our favourite tanks.
It is indeed, although I'm sure someone's going to post in the comment that there's an American tank that can rotate its barrel in 0.6 of a second or something.
Yeah, but it's American, so...
Yeah,
it
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You're falling apart.
Well, no, it's firing at their own troops. But, no, we do apologise, because we're just being a little facetious there. Now, you're pushing into black now. Now, is this a decision, because he's dropped offline, you think it's fair enough?
I haven't noticed at this point.
Oh, really?
I kind of wonder why he's not fighting back around here, and then realise he's dropping the game.
Ah,
but
right.
this first attack, I just realised I rolled off Tech 2. He appeared to push it with all the Tech 2 artillery he had.
And it was essentially game over already. I think you are right. Even if he hadn't dropped from this game, he would be in a difficult position.
Yeah, he would have been able to fend off his attack. I mean, he does it without even being there. He probably would have saved a little bit more if he was there, possibly. Mm-hmm. Although anti-micro can come into it to a point where he just tries to stand back enough and lost a bit more.
Mm-hmm. And we actually see another player, that's White, drop. Now that's quite unfortunate.
Oh yes, White has dropped in the game, yes.
Yeah, and so that just leaves you in Econ. Now in all fairness, we don't know where XCAR or Planet Annihilator is at this moment. We've just been dealing with Andret.
We have no clue where they are whatsoever. They could... The only thing we know is they're not in the middle of our base.
Absolutely. Now, one of the changes from the previous patches, and the reason why we don't know where the other players is because we can't see building footprints, isn't that right?
Yeah. Previously, there was this grey square around the fabrication buildings you could see through the fog of war. Can't anymore. Bit of a bummer, but it means that it's a lot harder to do rush builds, and it was obviously going to... This change was obviously going to happen.
Yeah. As much as you say it's a bit of a bummer, you really prefer it.
Oh yeah, it allows for you to actually play the game properly to a point.
To a point. Again, we know it's an alpha, guys. So looking at this, you've really started to just smash through here. There's a bit of artillery, but you know, unfortunately he's not there.
And unfortunately, this Tech 2 artillery rolls off the line just at the correct time to kill off my Tech 2 tanks.
And these mobile vehicle air defences. Now, I've seen the air vehicles being quite effective on ground, but it does take a while for them to really mash down this Tech 2.
They have nerfed the damage on them slightly.
That's good.
It is good. And also vehicles seem to have a bit high health now as well.
Now, you mentioned to me that you were actually a little annoyed at this stage with this shift clicking.
Yeah. When you're shift clicking with... on artillery, it doesn't happen with units on the left, only with artillery from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. If it can't attack the first thing, it'll just go into its standard stop mode and not attack anything at all.
And that can be really annoying.
Yeah. So you have to make sure it can attack the thing you're clicking on. Mm-hmm. Which for some reason it can't. I don't know whether it's have a line of sight or whether it's just a bug, but for some reason it just can't attack that.
We have had some units. I know I was watching you play a game and you were particularly frustrated with a group of bombers that wouldn't attack. And I think that actually happens, you mentioned that happened later in this game, yeah?
The bomber AI sometimes doesn't want to attack. It's got the little white line that says it's got stuff in it, but just doesn't want to actually attack things. There was a major bug beforehand. Built things so quickly. There was a major bug beforehand where lots of units couldn't attack fabrication buildings at all.
Well, that would make the game certainly more interesting.
Yeah, you just had to snipe the commander, which didn't end the game at that point. Now it does. Oh, one quick change. Again, I remember them as they come. When you're defeated now, you can spectate the game.
Oh, brilliant.
So your buildings get destroyed, but you can still look at the map and get full vision.
Now, I haven't actually mentioned this, but Andret has jumped back into the game now.
Yes, he has.
And you take the decision that as he's back in the game, you previously retreated, but we're now going to move out again.
Yeah, well, I don't see him as a threat anymore. I've taken out so much of his stuff. Mm-hmm. Even if he has gone and rebuilt somewhere or has built up a bit more, he can't push into me from this angle, definitely.
Yeah, and I still see the artillery not firing there. That must be very frustrating for you.
It is. It is very buggy, but you live with it, don't you? It's... And I've played games that have released with bugs like this.
Yeah, and you know, we've all been there trying to log into a game.
It's firing at one.
Oh, yay! There we go. Tetu Artillery doing its job. So, again, guys, we're at the alpha stage here, and something that I know there's been a lot of controversy, and while we've got a bit of a lull at the moment, we just want to talk about some of the controversy about the Planetary Annihilation alpha and being released on Steam and originally on Uber's website. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, before the alpha was released, they put it on Steam, and then once the alpha was released, they decided to price it the same as they do on the Uber forums, which is $90 for the alpha.
And why was that?
It's because that's what the minimum tier was for the Kickstarter backers.
Okay, so the people that backed a Kickstarter, which is, I'm actually one of the backers myself, but I jumped on the bandwagon with Lemming, so I've got a game code coming in at the beta stage, I think.
The beta, which starts in September.
Yeah, and that was a deal that they let us add an extra bit of money on, and I got a beta key, but you've got the original alpha key, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I haven't even got access myself, guys, at this stage. But would you have been particularly upset as an alpha backer if other people had been able to get in the alpha stage for, you know, retail price £40?
Yes, because you're paying for the privilege to play the alpha. Mm-hmm. The original Kickstarter, people wanted to spend a bit more money, got benefit from it. Now, there were other rewards and whatnot, but say with digital backer, and you spent the $95 for it, you get some special commanders, which you get most of with when you buy it on Steam anyway, just not the progenitor commander, but that's only cosmetic. And the main reason people did it was to get the alpha access.
Yeah.
So if now, a year later, people can get the alpha access for cheaper, it's not very fair, is it? No,
it's not fair at all. And, you know, even though I am restricted, I cannot play the alpha, I am actually really happy that is the case, because I wouldn't have felt that would be fair. I don't want them using kind of tactics we'd expect from EA. I don't think that they're trying to make money, which is what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, it's not a money-making tactic. People asked for it to be buyable on Steam because they couldn't purchase it to the Uber store.
Yeah, not everyone knew about the Kickstarter. You know, we were really lucky that we did. Now, I'm really sorry, guys, making Lemming talk here. He would have spotted this instantly if I wasn't bugging him. But actually, one of the players, White, has died.
Oh, yes.
X-Car has destroyed him. It did happen a little while ago. I did notice it, but I was so into the moment of talking about Uber and the progression they've made in terms of allowing people to purchase the alpha. Didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
But as we're talking about that, a lot of people have said that the alpha is a money grubbing idea, and you even mentioned some people saying it's illegal to do it.
Oh yeah, just it's you know, have a go lawyers. You know. People will say it's illegal to sell a game because the content you're getting with the game at release has there's no additional content in the alpha, so they can't charge more.
Which is just
it's completely wrong in every respect.
Now we'll jump, as the lul's ended, we'll jump back into the game. We actually see that the enemy X-Car has got what we assume is control of the sea. We know he's taken out Planet Annihilator, and are you worried about his access to the sea and his progression of sea units?
No, because I can just avoid it. My base isn't connected to the ocean at all at the minute.
Just that little section there that you don't really need to worry about.
Yeah, it's a very large ocean, but I'm not connected to it in any way. So all the ships, if I go and attack him, assuming that he's near the shore, which he must be to be building ships, I can just completely avoid them.
Yeah.
And it's wasted money for him.
Now, in fact, I can see a load of engineers. And what are you doing up here?
I'm building a bit of a fire base. I was just radar scouting, and he killed the first radar that I built, so I thought, okay, I'll just build a bit out of range. It took a little bit of trial and error to make sure it was out of range, but once it was, I just built some turrets there, and I think we'll build Tetu Artillery there soon.
Okay, and why was that?
It's just to protect that flank a bit, and just to annoy him, to be honest.
Fair enough, but what's the tactical purposes of annoying the player like that? Why are you building a fire base there where you know he's already built up?
I know where it is right now, he can't attack, so I should be able to get it quite established. And if he does try and push that front and push into my base, it's an incredibly defendable location for me, well away from his ocean.
And assuming that he doesn't push him, but he starts to overproduce sea units, you've got a deficit for his economy that costs you very little.
Exactly.
And if he keeps producing stuff to try and take that out, it's really going to help you in the end, isn't it?
Oh yes.
As well as being an early warning mechanism. Now, I see you're actually tech switching to air here.
Yes, I decided that air's a good play because built so much energy. That's generally the hardest thing with air is getting enough energy just to run the factories. And I've got less metal than I'd like. And vehicle factories take a lot more metal compared to air.
And because of your early combat with Andret, we're not as spread out as you've previously been. You know, the base isn't quite as sprawling.
I've put a lot of my econ into building units rather than building more econ.
Fair enough. And that's again because we had an early situation where units needed to be on the board to make sure you were survivable.
Exactly.
Now, you're moving off a large amount of build capacity. Wow, you can just push out so much here. Now, something I've been wondering is in the Planetary Annihilation game, you had the air units that could manufacture, and I used to love those units because they were so much faster.
Oh, that's a point defense taken out here.
Point defense taking out a bomber. Keep watching, guys. I think we're eventually, by the end of all our videos, we'll probably see every single unit kill a bomber.
I think most units can.
Wow. So yeah, I used to really like the air construction units because although they took a lot longer to build, they were so much faster in terms of movement. But is that still the case?
No, they're about the same sort of speed as builders.
Oh, really?
Except because they go as the crow flies, they're generally a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Getting from point A to point B.
Right.
They also take a lot more energy and they build slower.
Right.
However, they're completely unrestricted on where they can build because they can build on plateaus. They can build,
right.
You know, well, just on plateaus. To be honest, at the minute there are going to be other locations they can build where other units can't.
So, like you can see on the map now, if you look to the bottom of the section that that Lemming was building heavily there was a little section of raised desert.
Yeah. And
you could, for instance, build on there.
Yeah. Now I think fabrication bots can kind of at the minute as long as it's low enough. But the idea is
a bigger piece or something along those lines.
Yeah, the idea is that the planes are meant to be able to build on there, and the fact they stack on top of each other helps a lot because they don't get in each other's way when they're building.
Yeah, now that was a big problem in Supreme. Oh wow, we've got a counter attack by Andret of all people.
Yep.
So he did really well there, repositioning because he's right around the other side now. He knew that you had that position. So although Andret was knocked out of the game earlier, guys, you really should feel good for him that he's made an attempt at a good comeback here.
Yeah, he's doing incredibly well, not being kicked out of the game. He's a very valiant opponent.
Yeah, we're more than happy if you ever want to jump on for a rematch, Andret. I'm sure Lemming will take that.
If you happen to watch this video by some miracle, send us a message on YouTube. I would love to play a game against you again. You're probably one of the better players I've played. If not the best. I've played against some very good players, though, to be fair. Yeah,
there was a particularly good guy in a game, I think 2 games ago. Or was it the last game? I'm sorry. You know what?
It was some time ago that was fairly good.
Yeah. So your build capacity is jumping onto the Tattoo artillery, and this is really just to make sure he can't push again. We see the towers come up and the artillery.
It's partly to push. I think the majority of the reason I'm doing this though is to be able to take out the base from a distance, so I don't have to push into it.
Right. Do you want to use your units elsewhere, maybe for XCAR?
Yeah, I'm very worried about XCAR pushing, because I know I've done a lot of damage to Andret at this point, but I don't know what XCAR's got.
No, we haven't scouted XCAR at this stage. Now, again, we know you've tech switched to air. Now, I think that's really unfortunate for Andret, because he's not had scouting at all. And the last time he saw you, you were pumping out vehicles at a rate.
Andret doesn't actually... He knows that you've got advanced vehicles, assuming he's on the board with that.
Yeah.
Advanced vehicle builders, right? That's all he knows. I haven't scouted his base to see what he's got, but... if he's got air, I've got it counted. If he's got land, I've got it counted.
And if I was Andret, the last thing I saw was you producing vehicles. I'd be producing either bots or vehicles the same. I'm not going to be thinking that you've got mass air, which is unfortunately the case for him.
Yeah. So the reason I haven't scouted him is I don't want to give away I've got air units.
Ah, that's something I probably wouldn't have picked up on.
Yeah. I didn't want him to know that. So... if he happens to come by and sees my air units, fair enough. I think he does actually get a Tech 2 ship destroyed at some point, which he may not have seen it now. In fact, there it is. He may not have seen that actually get killed anyway.
Right.
So he may still not know I have air.
So Andret comes out and it doesn't go very well for him.
I've got lots of Tech 1 artillery at the front, and the Tech 2 artillery is repositioning.
And because you know about the weakness of bombers versus tanks, you look like you were microing there. Is that correct?
Yes, but I was also making sure that I had lots and lots of irrelevant players, Tech 1 interceptors and scouts, just to try and absorb some of the shots.
And we talked about that last game in terms of fodder, and whether it was best to have 2 wings flying independently, the fodder taking off the turrets, or if it was better to have it as one big wing, and that would be more effective against units and anti-air fire.
Yeah, these Tech 2 tanks just do so much damage to me.
Again, Tech 2 tanks, the best anti-air weapon you can buy.
Well, no, not quite.
No?
No.
I do like a Tech 2
amazingly,
tank.
Tech 2 anti-air anti-air planes are the best anti-air unit in the game.
No.
Yeah.
No, don't be silly.
I know it's not something that happens very often
In most games. Yeah, there are. In fact, I can't think of. Oh no. The humanity this commander is going to fall. Poor Andret, and he's gone. I think he actually disconnected a little bit again.
He did disconnect towards the end. He could have moved his commander into the water, which would have been a pain, but I think he'd all but lost that game anyway.
Yeah, we're sorry, Andret, but again, that was a valiant effort, and yeah, it's not really fair when you've
got like the little flower there.
That is beautiful. How many planes is that, do you think?
I think it's 28 fabrication planes.
28. And do you think that stacking is intentional? Because I would.
Yeah, plane stacking is intentional. Now, lots of people when they first saw it were like, oh, well, it's not very realistic. It's almost impossible to play with planes in games like this if they bump into each other.
Yeah, because you'd lose half your planes. They'd just be crashing into each other and smashing down. It'd never work.
Even if they didn't do damage, air fights would be hilarious because the majority of the time would just be planes bumping into each other.
And that wouldn't be for an effective game. Now, wow, and you're not scouting X-Cars really paid off because he comes in here with a lot of was that artillery vehicles?
Yeah, artillery vehicles, which is completely going to get devastated by this because artillery doesn't shoot up air directly.
Right. So if you had land units in here, this would be actually a different scenario for you.
Yeah, if I had land units pushing in, I want to protect the land units to push in later on because he might have like lots of anti-air turrets. I would actually be flying my planes directly over top.
Right.
To absorb the artillery shots.
Right. And you would be picking the cheaper planes. It wouldn't be the Tech 2 bombers.
No, I'd move the Tech 2 bombers off, obviously.
Now you devastate this this artillery, which is you know. This is a compositional error on his part. He pushed out with nothing but artillery,
yes.
And that was a mistake.
Yeah, you always have to have a Tech 1 factory anyway. Once you start building Tech 1 fabrication things from it, you just push out as much Tech 1 anti-air as you can from it. There's no reason not to. There's no unit cap in the game. There's no, you know, it costs so little to do it.
And it really helps your composition in the case someone did what you did. And you could argue again that, well, you know, you didn't have a ground counter because you're air-based. But if you look through his composition there, you had bombers, you had anti-air aircraft.
About 20 Tech 2 tanks.
The Tech 2 tanks follow up. The original push, you had a full composition of the air units, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had Tech 1 anti-air aircraft like fighters.
And there's Tech 2 anti-air as well. There.
Tech 2 anti-air. You had Tech 1 bombers, Tech 2 bombers, and I believe scouts in there as well.
Scouts in there as well.
Yeah.
Vision, yeah.
So you've got you know, a really good composition. You take out this forward fire base. You do take a little bit of damage from the ground turret, which again still amuses us. You do start to scout him thoroughly here, and he's in real trouble.
Yeah, he's just got Tech 2 artillery everywhere. That's it. He's got nothing else. There's a few towers behind. I think he's started to make some anti-air bots out of Tech 1 factory. It's too little too late. As soon as my tanks hit here, I've got so much Tech 1 and Tech 2 bomber back at base building already. And probably already built.
And really, this is endgame now. There's not much longer in this game.
It's actually going to end sooner than you think.
Really?
Yeah, it crashes.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, again, it's alpha stage. We're happy with that. We know that there's going to be the odd crashes. You've actually told me that considering the level, you haven't had that many.
No, I mean, I've had like 3 or 4 crashes. That's it. Which is...
That is amazing.
Yeah, I'm luckier than some. Here goes crash. And it's oddly not a crash on my end, it's a server crash. Okay. So, it seems a bit weird, but I think that's still a very good game. I'm glad we cast it.
And I think that, you know, you would have won that in the next 2 or 3 seconds, really. You were looking for the commander. It was going to be sniped.
Yeah, that's why I hadn't bought many units. I was going to snipe the commander as soon as I saw it.
Brilliant.
So, that's that game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you've got any suggestions for what we can do for the next few games, if you like. If you
Yeah,
want to
well-
see something in particular, just say.
We're more than happy to comment, guys. Drop us a line. We're happy to chat.
Yep, and that is Surreal Lemming signing out.
And Morgrave signing out.